Hello, Planet Watchers. Welcome to Aquarius. Hey, Mary Jane.
Hello, hello, Christy. Glad to be back.
Oh, it's kind of cold there in Geneva, huh?
It's ridiculously cold. It's 30 degrees all the time. And in Geneva, it's always cloudy. We've got this sort of fog thing going along the Jura Mountains. And so you have to get up a little higher to get any sun at all. It gets kind of tiresome this month. But that's okay. That's okay. At least there's the roads are dry here and everybody's driving all right. And that's a good thing.
That's already something. I know it's just wet and fluffy and icy and cold here.
Oh, it's just I that always scares me when there's stuff on the ground and people are slipping and sliding all over it, just, really scary. But nice. It's a nice time to be staying home and keeping dry and warm.
Yes, it is. So we're coming up on Aquarius.
Really fast now, really fast, yeah.
Yes, and I just feel like there's a lot of things shifting in 2025.
Yes, and we're off to a nice start. I've gotta say, I don't want to get into, any, dangerous habits, but this really does look like a nice month to talk about for once, and so I'm hoping that we're able to use some really delicious energies lining up and, yeah, get this year off to a roaring start.
Wonderful. So what do we have coming up now?
Well, you won't believe this one. I never thought I'd say it, but the player of the month is Mars. Mars, our old friend and sometimes foe, sometimes a dangerous friend, is actually doing some fantastic things this year. Right now, this month, in any case, a few weeks ago, Mars went retrograde, right? And
Oh.
last year we talked a long time about the opposition to Pluto that he was creating and creating with that sort of a terrible wartime situation that didn't look like it was going away very fast. Well, in this Mars retrograde, he slipped back into Cancer. Now, Mars in Cancer is a wet noodle. He just is totally confused, rather inefficient, not doing anybody any good except creating ulcers for people who are subject to them. But in this and coming away then from the opposition to Pluto. So with this laid back, kind of off the scene Mars, all of a sudden, and he's in a nice communication mode with Saturn. So there's Mars. It made me think when I drew up this chart, it looks like the neighborhood bully who's been called into the principal's office, and all of a sudden he says, "Look, we've had enough of you. You're not supposed to be doing all these terrible things on the playground, and we want you to lay off and grow up." And so all of a sudden, this Mars is saying, "Oh dear, I've gotten away with a whole lot for a long time, and maybe I better get my act together." So it's like Mars is in the principal's office and trying to get his life straight and receiving orders from all directions. And that's with Saturn. And he's also in a very nice sextile position to Uranus. So this means that he's almost willing to change some bad habits, to go looking for some other ways to act, or at least get out of his quagmire of the moment. So this is all great for us. It means, and we've seen, with peace talks going on in Gaza and in Israel, how it's as though this has come to ripen. It's just the right time to be getting involved in turning around this horrible bellicose situation that's been going on for a way too long time.
Right, and not a moment too soon. I wish Ukraine would catch up with that and
Yeah, yeah, we've still got a little work to do because although I don't know, I think we're going to see some slowing down. I have difficulty imagining that Trump is going to be good at this, but he seems to be giving some proper orders at least. And he's got some of his friends and some of his foes actually listening to him and listening to his threats of cutting off money. This is always the nerve of the war, isn't it, as they say in French? Anyway, it's always about money, but good, It seems to be working, and some of his arguments are going home. So this could be good. Now, there are some rugged days in here when the moon is acting up. let's see, the 27th, 28th of January look a little rugged with this new learning experience of Mars. But for the rest, actually, things are working quite well. And I think this is going to be a major breakthrough in a lot of peaceful conditions around the world, including in our own lives. When you're having court battles, you're having trouble at home, you're having trouble with your boss, especially with the authorities, people who are owing money to the IRS or whatever. This is a very good time to get things evened out and get out of some old bad habits of our own and maybe kick some ass along the way and have people get out of their own bad habits.
Mm.
So this can be extremely useful for us, I think.
Oh,
And
that's
Mars goes on. It's doing some really nice things here. There are some remaining tensions, however, through this first week in February, notably, because Mars is still in an awkward aspect with the Sun, with Mercury, with the Ceres as well, square to Ceres, and opposition to Pallas Athena. So all of this means that, well, yes, I'm staying open to some new ideas. I really don't like the people I'm dealing with. And this is not particularly helpful when we're trying to negotiate and trying to show some respect for the people opposite us. So it's not going to be a nice, even, smooth change going on. There's still lots of bumps in the road, I think, as far as peace negotiations, as far as, well, Israel's already showing signs of not willing to cooperate very far. And this is sort of a hang up. But if we can get past that and keep in mind that there's an important change that's supposed to be happening, why I think we can get a lot done this month. I really do, as far as getting our tensions, especially, and getting some very difficult misunderstandings finally straightened out in our own lives and on a global level.
oh, not a moment too soon.
No, no, not at all, not at all.
And what?
So this Mars is staying in retrograde movement until the 25th of
Okay.
February. Then is coming straight again, coming direct again. Now, all of this sounds really good on paper, but we have to keep an eye down the road a little bit because Mars will be remaking this opposition to Pluto in mid-April. So we'll have to have a look at the sky, what's going on in the spring as far as what we can still count on. How many promises are going to be kept?
Oh, yes.
I think that's going to be important.
Yeah, I don't think many. Mm.
Typically not, but it's always good to kind of, keep in mind these things are possible and hope for the best. The sky will be what it is. People will continue to be what they are. And sometimes I do get discouraged about our leaders' honesty level.
And integrity level. For me.
And integrity level, yes, and looking beyond their nose level. It doesn't seem a lot of long-term concentration about what the possibilities can be, what positive possibilities can be, instead of looking just for the short-term gain. And until that gets right, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Ugh. Well, February, of course, is the month of Valentine's Day. People are always talking about romance and relationships and love, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything that is coming up that's good, that is bringing people together in Aquarius?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely, yes. Now, Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, right?
Okay.
With Saturn. Saturn is the old ruler, the ancient ruler, and Uranus is the modern ruler. Well, when we're talking about Saturn, we're talking about evenness, we're talking about wisdom, we're talking about moderation, we're talking about constructive energy, your solidity. When we're talking about Uranus, we're talking about none of those things. We're talking about surprises. We're talking about innovation. We're talking about rapid change. We're talking about, personally, I always laugh that this Valentine's Day and this lovers, holiday happens in this atmosphere of total chaos and fury, all kinds of changes involved. And I don't think this month is going to be much different. But anyway, that's just me. This said, we've got some nice things. Let's jump down and look at our friend Venus, who's kind of in charge of these relationships, right? She's kind of running hot and cold this month, but has some nice things going on, especially this first part of Aquarius from the 21st to the 1st of February, with the moon chiming in on the 1st of February. She's making a fantastic sextile with this same Uranus. Also, she's making some nice aspects with Pallas and with Juno. So this is all very nice to be, well, weighing and measuring one's relationship, especially marital relationships. It's a very nice atmosphere for change or for innovation. This is a time to renew the games, keep the games coming, keep the surprise factor working in relationships. It's a great time to be shooting some vitamins into some what it could be otherwise lagging relationships, okay? This is now Venus is still and all, and for a long time, until the 10th of February, Venus is still in a semi-square with the sun. We talked about this last month and how Venus can make us feel as though we're all alone and misunderstood and just out there in the cold. And this is still keeping on, still keeping on with some peaks, especially complicated on the 1st or 2nd of February. I think this aspect is going to somewhat complicate the discussions, negotiations on a global level, but also is discussions on a very personal level by a pure lack of trust. We don't trust ourselves and we don't trust the people next to us not to do us dirty. So that gets a little bit complicated, but it's a very nice aspect to keep one's eyes wide open. This is important. And don't be afraid of creating change as well in your relationships, in the mode of communication. It is kind of an interesting time. Now, those are some of let's talk about, I've got to come back to the heavy planets because they are, in fact, in a beautiful aspect in the sky and are going to be helping a lot, evening out these concentrated discussions, various things coming along. Neptune is adding its shot of dreaminess to the whole thing. Keep your eyes open for those little details that can be important in new relationships. Also, in contract negotiations, in lining up job interviews, in looking for other types of partnerships, other types of relationships. It's going to be important to keep your eyes wide open because why Neptune is extremely helpful, very poetic, very musical, very dreamy, but can jump over a whole lot of rather important details.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Uranus, though, is otherwise in very nice aspect to other planets. So this is a good time to be changing some things. A lot of changes in projects and in partnerships, as we said.
Anything else we need to know about?
Well, I do have to say a few other things. We talked about Saturn in its very nice trine to this retrograde Mars all month long. It's heavenly. Saturn setting some new rules to this Mars and saying, look, straighten up, fly right. And this is going to go on a long time. Looks very helpful through the 19th to the 1st of February. However, there's always a catch, huh? Saturn at the same time until the 30th of January, with a peak on the 31st of January, is going to be square to a retrograde Jupiter. So I would say put off signing anything. Put off signing any important contracts until after the 1st of February, because, and even then, check it out, because the legal tendencies aren't good. We don't have all the facts in hand. And you're going to see a lot of slowdowns, a lot of retrograde movement, a lot of papers being lost, a lot of letters that are lost in the mail, lost on somebody's desk, and people just aren't paying attention to getting the work done. So when Saturn is square to Jupiter, it's also what I want is meeting the wall. And And sometimes this is just a question of timing that doesn't allow us to do what we want to do or what needs doing also. With that, from the 1st to the 16th of February, the Saturn is also in a semi-square to Pluto. Now, this I really hate because, again, it's going to slow down these wonderful conversing moments, but also this creates new confrontations between the ruling factions. So that the undersecretaries and the people in charge of trying to get along are just not being listened to. And we're going to see possible ruptures in these new agreements. This attitude is extremely difficult in all kinds of negotiations. So we've got to fight against this. Also, getting back to old habits, the old habits that we saw in Capricorn and all last fall are just not on the cards anymore. We've got to pass that stage all up. So at the same time now, from the 3rd of the 8th to February, with another peak on the 6th of February, a nice moon, making the Saturn that's going direct then is in a very nice atmosphere for negotiations, contracts, and can help a lot to even out, give new possibilities, a new resurgence of energy into various negotiations and contracts. At this point, if we can put anything off until, I'm going to say the 3rd of February anyway, why it's a better idea. So all told, with some sort of complicated situations here and there, I think we're looking at a very positive month to get some new ideas on the table and get some new negotiation going. Some much more creative ideas than we've had all winter so far.
Wonderful. Okay, so all in all, it sounds like some really positive developments here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking this is going to be an extremely positive month, but we must remember that February, too, the period of Aquarius is a fixed air sign. This is where new ideas are coming in, innovation, think invention, think outside the box. And we're going to get a lot done if we are willing to change some old habits, look at some old habits, not count on pure brio to get things done. We're going to have to say, oh, my Mars is in a weak spot. I've got to use my brain instead of my brawn and figure out some new ways to approach people, to approach projects, to approach partnerships, to approach.
So just a time to revisit these relationships and maybe look at it in a new way.
For sure, for sure. As I said, a very clever lady said, you've got, especially in couples relationships, you've got to keep the games rolling, keep the energy there, keep new ideas, even new reactions. Don't be afraid to surprise your partner. And this is always a kind of a nice Valentine's present too, after all.
Well, this is true. Keeping the surprise, remembering why you wanted to be with this person in the first place.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And what can we do to renew our contacts, keep them fresh?
Yes, absolutely. Maybe if you haven't talked to somebody in a while, reach out and give them a call. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, this is excellent. This month, I think, is really splendid for that kind of activity. It's time to retouch base with a lot of people and reach out for some new contacts.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a great idea for February. I mean, it's cold, it's gross. What else are we gonna
You on the phone?
do? Exactly. Put on your snowshoes and go have a drink with your girlfriends, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Send out. Remember the old Valentine's cards we had in school?
Yes.
Send out some Valentine's cards. That's cute.
Wonderful idea. Yeah, I send Valentine's cards to my friends. It's a fun thing to do. All right. Well, so much for this. This is wonderful. I mean, I was ready for some good news.
Well, yeah, aren't we all? It's been a long fall, a long winter, and I think we're due for some good stuff now.
Yes. So we might be turning a corner.
Yeah. I think so. We it with the condition always that we use it properly, but the energy's there, and, yeah. There's an important alignment of planets, on the 21st, I think. A whole bunch of things are going on in the sky, well, with some of the smaller planets to the, what do you call those little guys? Well, the asteroids. But they're all getting together and yeah, it's going to set up again. This is all happening in Aquarius. So the idea is, hey, let's get on the ball here, get things moving.
Right, right, right. It feels like things have been stagnant for quite some time and just she was stuck. So it's good to know the energy's getting going again.
Right, right, right.
Wonderful. Um, so I guess we'll see you again in Pisces.
Yep. Yeah. Pisces, I know we'll be hitting on there and before the 18th of February. So yeah, I'll be back and I'll look forward to seeing you all.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. This is always fun. And remember, everybody, this is a global report. We're just kind of looking in general to find out like where your Venus is, where your Mars is, what is your Uranus doing, and how is it affecting you. You need to see your own chart. What? You don't have a chart? What? How is that? Let's get in touch with Mary Jane and get you a chart, okay? So go to
Okay.
Radiate go to radiantecommunity.com and you can sign up to have your natal chart drawn up and reviewed and discussed with Mary Jane.
Exactly, it would be a great pleasure. And you'll find out it's a fantastic tool for planning our actions. When we're just throwing the dice and hoping for the best, it doesn't always work. But as soon as we have time on our side and we know when to act, we know when not to act, we know when to lay back, we know when to play. And you'll see it just does a world of good.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Well, thanks again. We'll see you again in Pisces.
I'll be here. See you then.